Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland, so welcome back to the channel once more. Um, Mainly hoping this thing is helping. People told me to leave it down. Okay. So, Henry Kissinger died today. I saw his name flash up on the news. I thought he must have died. Because I recall in May he turned 100 and telling pupils about it then. So, yeah, there was a lot of comment when he reached a century. So many people will be dancing a merry jig over his grave. Many people say that he was thoroughly evil, and I don't entirely disagree with them because you see, he was the United States Secretary of State at the height of the Cold War, the 1969 to 77. Now, so uh, what was I going to say? So obviously, there's fighting in Vietnam and elsewhere at that time. Now, I know wars necessarily involve killing. But there is such a thing as a clean kill, I suppose. One soldier kills another soldier in a combat situation, and I feel sorry for the one who gets killed. It is rare for that person, but that is what war is. What is a dirty kill? This is killing civilians, especially on purpose, when it's not in furtherance of a military objective, as in blowing up an army base with 10 soldiers and you're getting killed one civilian. Even though that civilian's there, but just accept the price is going to be paid by the innocent person. The soldiers actually were often innocent themselves. But what the United States was doing under him was being extraordinarily indiscriminate in the use of bombs in Cambodia with no congressional authority, so that would have been illegal even under US law. You should read the trial of Henry Kissinger by the late Christopher Hitchens, who utterly abominated Heinz Kissinger, and Kissinger loftily refused to engage with it. He calumniated Christopher Hitchens by claiming that Christopher Hitchens had denied the Holocaust, who done no such thing, and so forth. So you're right. I know that in people usually bend the morality and moral compromise and so on. And there were various approaches sponsored by the United States, which some people would say, well, in terms of realpolitik, the ends justify the means, and the rest of it. Um, I don't object to that so much, to the communist regime in Chile. And some of the allegations level that General was the finisher are true, but there was some torture under him. Now, I know that Kissinger wasn't the president of the United States, he was Secretary of State, but nevertheless, he was at least complicit in this. He probably defended some of his behavior and things like that. So I don't want to go into too much biography. He was born in Germany. His father was a teacher of humanities. They were a very integrated Jewish family. But when the National Socialists came to office, they decided they had to flee. Briefly spent time in London, and it's fascinating speculating how his life turned out. He settled in the United Kingdom. They went on to New York, and of course his father completely lost his status, never mastered English. Heinz Kissinger had to go to school at night, working in a factory in daytime, anglicized his name to Henry, and had to explain to people that when the war came, that although he was German because he was Jewish, he'd been stripped of his German citizenship, blah, blah, blah. He managed to attain American citizenship and achieve perfect mastery of the English language, but he always had a vestigial language, vestigial accent. And curiously, he reverted to type in old age when his Teutonic accent came out again, becoming more pronounced. He never completely lost it. People always taking the look at him. So he went to Harvard. He was drafted into the United States Army. He never rose among private, but when the United States came to occupy their zone of Germany in 1945, he was extremely useful because he spoke both languages with rectitude. He found himself effectively running a town where he was demobilized. He went on to do a PhD in history. He was an academic, but and he was commenting on various things. He wrote a thesis on Castlereagh. I've read a bit of his book on foreign policy, in which he cast against the Locarno Pact, 1925. I've been aware of him since, well, my very early teens. But then the 1968 election, Lyndon Baines Johnson, the Democrat, decided not to contest this election. He was going to stand down. He, in fact, died of cancer 4 years later. Thank you, Deirdre. It was between Hubert Humphrey, the Democrats' vice president, and Richard Milhous Nixon, former vice president of California. But anyway, it was really on a knife edge, and the outgoing Johnson administration was involved in very delicate negotiations in Paris between North Vietnam, the communist regime, South Vietnam, the American-backed one, and so forth. But supposedly Nixon and his acolyte Kissinger breached the Logan Act. The Logan Act goes right back to the late 19th century. So it's saying that there can be no private diplomacy. Someone can only execute diplomacy on behalf of the United States with the express permission of the president. And here they were willfully undermining official U.S. foreign policy, which was to seek to achieve a peace agreement in Indochina. And so because the Republicans knew that were this deal to be sealed in Paris, it would give a bit of a fillip in the polls to Hubert Humphrey, which would probably put him over the line. So the Republicans supposedly, in their dastardly and backstabbing way, connived with the South Vietnamese at least, and persuaded them to withdraw from the talks, the whole thing, and say we'll win the election, and then we'll fight very hard for you, and we'll achieve outright victory, or indeed a deal which is more amenable to Brits. Well, I mean, the first part of that worked out. Hubert Humphrey very narrowly lost the election by about 0.2% popular vote, and I never see electoral college that votes, that counts. But anyway, Nixon became president, and he was a real cold warrior. He was a ferocious and farouche anti-communist, but didn't go quite so well for him, and he was going to pull out of the war. But anyway, 3 years later, the United States ended up signing another Paris peace agreement, which was almost a carbon copy of the one that Kissinger had done so much to undermine. The majority of Americans who were killed in Vietnam were killed after November 1968, as in this war that Nixon and needlessly prolonged. The thing is about being extremely promiscuous in dropping bombs in Cambodia. The great majority of people there were killed, civilians and so on. And no civilians are always killed in war, right? Which doesn't make it a good thing, but one must strive to avoid civilian casualties, except they're not entirely avoidable. But they were making little, if not no effort to reduce the civilian death toll. And I know the same about the communists, and yes, that's definitely true. There were numerous large-scale atrocities carried out by the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, one of the most bloodthirsty regimes of all time, and Vietnamese communists and so forth. But two wrongs to make a right. It's a two quo argument, that one. So Nixon, obviously, he had to leave government service in 1977. He tried to get various professorships, but he's turned down for that. But his démarche in the early 70s had been Nixon going to China. When flown to Pakistan one time, he was very much an advocate of cultivating Pakistan as an anti-communist force, even though it was much smaller than India. They thought it was a losing battle over Bangladesh, partly Kissinger saying that they should fight, don't care about their enormous scale massacres of Bengali civilians. But anyway, when he went on his 3-day trip to Pakistan, one day he pretended to fall ill. Pakistanis were complicit, so he could fly on to China, have meetings with Mao Zedong, partly opening the way to the United States formally recognizing the People's Republic of China, and thereby de-recognizing Taiwan as the Republic of China, only Nixon could go to China, things like that. So he was very much into doing things which he realistic, and wasn't so principled. So no matter how unsafe the regime he was going to team up with, this is what you need to do. That's the way politics works. And he describes coup d'etat as an aspect of foreign policy. I suppose that's true. People say that's still illegal and so on. They do the old Latin America. Why is the United States the only country in the American continent never to have had a coup d'etat? Because it's got no U.S. embassy. Because they believe the U.S. embassy was sort of den of vipers. The CIA had been organizing these punches on golpe de Estado in various Latin American countries. So that's him. He's gone to his reward. He got divorced. Was in the early 70s. That he was dating supposedly these very desirable women. He was not a particularly good-looking man. I suppose he was a beast, and yet reputations of swing. And there are numerous documentaries about him. But, he's dominated by many people. So yes, he will not be missed. And then one of the most nauseating things about him is supposedly having been a principal anti-communist. Then in the 1980s, he became an apologist for some of the communist tyrannies in the world, saying, "Well, I can help you invest there, various American companies, and what a fantastic place to do business. Because of this communist tyranny, I've spent decades decrying, and there are no pesky communists, and you don't need to worry about environmental regulations. You can pollute to your heart's content, no matter what the toxicity of your business you're doing in every sense. You can get away with it, and you can treat people like dirt. They are expendable. There was no right to strike. There is no minimum wage. There are health and safety regulations, and it's marvelous." And one of those, said that the United States, you shouldn't even tut about the Tiananmen Square massacre, and on and on. So he was quite violent, actually quite wrong in his prognostications. His reputation was largely overwritten. He wasn't very good at forecasts, so he was very much one of the allies under the bus. So he left his mark on history. I don't think in a good way. Right, so that is Henry Kissinger. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal. Goodbye, everybody.